Tonight, how much does the government know? Why are we all being ordered to stay home? We dig deep into some leading conspiracy theories with me and the gang. And from the news, where are all the patients at? This is supposed to be a high-level mass event where governors are crying for PPE equipment and face masks and ventilators. Yet, as of this morning, hospitals are laying off half their staff. Doctors are going home. And we're getting reports now from medical staff around the country that they're bored. Plus, the big 1,000-bed hospital shift that was so sorely needed to relieve the pressure off of the New York hospitals sits basically empty, having processed only 55 patients since it first docked. What's going on here? Are you seeing what I'm seeing? Let's have a discussion. I'm Mike Allen. This is the Radio Man Cave, and you are now on the air.
The views and opinions on the On the Air with Mike Allen show do not reflect the views and opinions of any other content on Fort Kick-Ass Productions. The following has mature content. Have fun.
process 50...
Nope. That.
Is it working now?
That's gonna reverb.
It's reverb because I had the channel on.
Oh, don't have the channel on because I turned it off.
Fucking nerd.
Now do we have audio?
We should. Yeah, I had it clicked on, and then as soon as you started talking, it
Don't
echoed,
change
so I
anything
turned it
over
off.
there. I turned it off over here. Because when
Oh.
we have the video on and we have us on, that's where we get the reverb because one of these cameras is on. Okay, we're back. Now that, let's go back to numbers. I ran these numbers earlier, and here's what I got. Thanks, Dean. Yeah, that was our producer, our magical producer. He's now pounding into his microphone because he doesn't know how to turn it off when he does stuff on his desk and put stuff
Typing on my
underneath
keyboard.
instead of putting stuff underneath the stand so it doesn't reverberate through the microphone.
Yeah, we never had this much trouble when I was with it.
I know. We haven't had this
Probably
much
because you
trouble.
got paid for it.
No, we didn't.
Yeah, I know, that was sarcasm.
Seriously, put some underneath your mic stand because I hear everything that hits.
Hey, don't yell at him.
What do you have for me to put under it?
Or turn the mic off until you're ready to talk.
Use this.
There you go.
How about you supply me with the tools, old man?
Holy cow.
I'm working for free here.
Sounds pretty communist if you ask me. Yeah.
Well, if this is the
Yeah.
level of work that I can expect, you'll continue to work for free.
What, this
All
is
right,
the
let's
level you
watch.
expect?
Let's run some numbers. 8 billion people. Actually, I was pointed out that I was 200 million people off.
8.2 billion
It's
people.
8.2 billion people, but I rounded it down because we can not count vegans because
Yeah, well, it's 200 million people.
8 billion people on the planet, give or take. 1.9 million tested positive for the virus, which is 0.00002% of the total population of the planet.
So 3 zeros and a 2, so 4 decimal points to the right.
118,623 people that tested positive for the virus have died, but it... No, that was you.
Was mine? Mine was on silent.
Lies and slander.
See,
No.
mine's off.
That's somebody
That's
else.
yours.
It's not mine. I don't have notifications on mine. God dang. See, now the Illuminati right now is trying to stop me from putting this information out.
Why don't you just talk through it? Stop interrupting yourself.
That's
Yeah. Quit being a nerd.
okay.
If you were a band, you
118,623 people in the whole world died after who tested positive for the virus. Understand this. That doesn't mean they all died from COVID. That means that they died and they tested positive. Some may have died from complications from the COVID-19 virus. But if I tested positive for COVID, was ordered home by the doctor to recover, and got in a car accident and died on the way home, I would be counted as a COVID-19 death. Worldwide, 118,623,000 people. Basically, a little bit more of the people that would fit into the big house in Ann Arbor on a Saturday afternoon watching football.
That's like saying you died because you have a beard.
0.0000006% of the total world population have passed away who have tested positive for COVID.
Where's your humanity?
And that's the gaslighting that goes on. You don't care about the people that died. I don't care about the people that died in car accidents today. You know why? Because I don't know them. And I'm certainly not going to shut down an entire country or the world or the whole economy or do any of this other nonsense that we're doing just to appease the grief of somebody because of something specific. Now, people die, it's sad. The number one cause of death is birth. We're all going to be there one day. But why are we singling this out and martyring everybody just to appease the feelings of the people who have died, who may have actually died from complications of this virus? Now we owe them.
What are the numbers?
But we don't owe the people that died from the opiate crisis, from suicide, from cancer, pick something.
Smoking.
Smoking.
Suicide. Yeah.
Let's take the United States. 332 million people here in the United States. 572,587 have tested positive for the virus, or basically 0.004% of the total U.S. population. 2,378 deaths of the people who have tested positive for the virus. Again, doesn't mean they died from the virus necessarily. They were tested positive and then died, and they're being counted. Puts it at 0.006% of the entire United States population.
So 1/5 of 1% of the population tests positive, and we shut the entire economy down, which puts 40 million people out of work. So 1/5 of 1% test positive. So we put over 11, say 12% of the population out of work, which comes out to about, what, a 30% unemployment rate?
Yeah, well, and now there's a spike in suicides because people are
beating their
depressed.
kids, that went up.
There's
I
a
saw that the
huge
other day.
spike in family violence.
Domestic violence.
Yeah.
Domestic violence. There's a huge spike in alcoholism. Texas leads the way.
Yeah.
Go Texas.
It's not like we got anything else to do.
And when you close gyms, people can't work out if they don't have their own weights at their
Well,
house.
that's who gives a shit. You can work out anywhere. Gyms don't.
Right.
Gyms are a mental thing. People go to gyms and pay money to motivate themselves to work out. USS Roosevelt, their commanding officer was relieved of his duties after reporting the status of his ship worldwide on the World Wide Web, which he should be fired, because that's not information that needs to be put out over the internet. And one of his sailors who was assigned to that ship tested positive with asymptomatic, and then all of a sudden the next day he died. But they don't know if it was because of the virus or if some other reason.
I mean, I hate to say this, it could have been even a suicide for all we know. Yeah.
They're not reporting that. They just said that he tested positive, was asymptomatic, showed no signs, went to bed, woke up the next day, and was unresponsive. So that could be alcohol poisoning. I mean, they're in the military. They're not and they didn't say it was from COVID. 2 of the 3 news sources did not say that he died because he had the virus. They said he had, got to listen to the words they use. He tested positive for the virus and then passed away. That's different than saying he tested positive from the virus and because of COVID, he died from COVID.
Yeah, it's like you die.
That's the implication. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's like saying that you died from a car accident because you had COVID, or you died from a car accident because you had a beard. Oh, because Mike Allen had a beard. That's what caused him to die in the car accident.
Now, I'm not saying I don't care about the guy that died.
Yeah.
But facts don't care about your feelings. The facts are, it ain't lining up.
It is not.
It's just not lining up. So, Mike, buried in your phone. Thoughts?
So,
My
I don't
rant's
know
done.
What you're saying because you're never citing anything, so I have to look it up.
I just
Okay, I've got the 8 billion from Google after I typed in how many people are in the world. I got the number of United States from Google where I typed in how many people are in the United States. Right. I got the other information off a CNN website. If you open it up, that's all over their graphics. You can get it off the MSNBC website, which has the same graphic, and I think Fox is a little bit, the numbers are a little bit different, but they're right in the same ballpark. So all those numbers I just read off, you can find from all 4 of the news sources, and then just Google how many people are on the planet.
I just want to make a comment real quick with
and then just watching the news and picking it up.
With Leland's beard growing back in like right now. He's got like the stashes up here. It's growing in pretty strong. He's got like that Joe Exotic facial hair going.
Yeah, with the sunken
right
eyes.
now.
Look at that.
Oh dear.
You need to get better.
Let's get some tigers.
Tell you, we need to get better lighting. We do need to get better
You would
lighting.
think with all the money we have in financing, we'd be able to get some better lighting.
Yeah, all that money.
All that money. Oh wait,
As
we
soon
all
as
do
I
this
find
for-
out where all
oh,
that
we all
money
do this
is.
for free.
The numbers I've read with all these with just the stimulus debt alone, it's what $18,000 of new debt per person in the United States, per taxpayer in the United States. There's what $3 trillion.
Yeah, I mean, all the stuff. I mean, now, and what's funny is you watch the different news sources, and I got Dean, one of our viewers, say heart failure is. Oh,
Wait, I'm sorry. Yeah, all right, go.
yeah. I was.
Do what you had to say.
Huh?
Say what you're gonna say.
But he made it says they don't have the best docs in the military, and I have to concur. We didn't have there was a few that were really, really good, but those are few and far between because that's socialized medicine basically. But go ahead, Alex.
How are you gonna say a sailor dies of alcohol poisoning when you tested positive possibly from alcohol poisoning? When you
It could have been because they never specified it was from COVID.
I mean, I just looked it up on NPR, and NPR, but they said that he died from complications of COVID. Like he couldn't breathe anymore.
Then that's the first news source that I've heard of that attributed it directly to COVID.
Well, I went and looked it up. I didn't see like a screenshot on Facebook or something.
I didn't either. I saw it on MSNBC.
Dude, I'm just messing with you. I'm just messing with you.
I'm putting myself through this bullshit watching all these news sources. This
Why are you doing that?
propaganda to glean this information so I can form questions. Now that's updated. I didn't have that updated information.
I mean,
and NPR is just as much of a propaganda piece as everybody else. You just have to go in and you have to listen to the words, and then you have to be able to discern. Now, if it was a complication from COVID, there you have it. Now you can count that one. But in the military,
but this article was published at noon.
I don't watch NPR.
You can hear it. Oh shit!
I don't listen to NPR. I don't watch NPR.
That's fine. I mean,
I haven't included that in my
That's fine.
intelligence gathering.
That's fine.
I will now because that's another source. But doesn't that tell you though? NPR reports that. How come Fox News isn't reporting that?
Or even CNN or MSNBC?
I don't know. There's a lot of
CNN
shit
or
going on. I can't
MSNBC.
tell you that. I don't watch Fox or. I listen to I listen to C-SPAN. 'Cause
C-SPAN's good.
I'm a fucking nerd. NPR.
25 minutes in.
Jason and Deb in the morning.
Jason and Deb.
Jason and Deb.
Those are yeah.
Yeah. Jason and Deb, man.
Leland.
Yeah,
I do. All right, because I'm not like
Take that out of that.
I'm not like a middle-aged man that wants to listen to Dudley and Bob bitch about their life for 3 hours in the morning.
Actually, they're not in the morning anymore.
Not in the morning. they're in
I,
the-
they're in the
I listen to Todd and Don if I'm up.
I listen to Todd and Don in the morning if I'm driving
I don't even know who those guys are.
on KLBJ AM.
I'm just married to 101X.
And then I listen to 101X for music. I listen to 93.7 for music if I want to get that genre. And then there's the cowboy station that plays the older Western, not the new funky, silly Western.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Coke FM.
Yeah.
Is it Coke
Play
FM?
some of the old George
Yeah.
Strait and all that kind of. Yeah,
Coke
there you go.
FM,
Coke
there you go.
FM,
Yeah, yeah.
So
They're dope.
they play like the
Marty
old,
Robbins.
Yeah, Marty Robbins, the old, Hank Williams Jr. songs, the drinking songs. They play that. Not the new.
Oh shit! John Prime died last
I
week.
know, yeah.
Yeah.
They say he was positive for COVID.
No shit.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's a damn shame.
Yeah, there's
Bill
actually-
Withers died.
Oh
too.
yeah.
actually-
Let's shut down everything though for that one guy because we got to show we care.
Yeah, it's John fucking Prime.
I know it's John Prime, but what if he would have died from
just saying.
something else?
The fact that they put
Okay,
What
you
makes
can't compare.
COVID
You can't compare it to alcoholism. Can't compare it to car accidents because there's like billions and billions and billions of dollars that are invested in prevention for drinking and driving, for alcoholism, for anti-smoking
makes this
campaigns.
special,
And what makes it special is that there's not a solution. And they're like, hey, everybody, hold the fuck up, chill out for a second, so we can gather what's going on before this turns into something that could be really bad for everybody.
So do you think we would have bought into what we're doing now back in January when everybody's harping on the president should have done something back in January with one death? Do you think we would have shut everything down like this if it would have been?
No, I mean it's getting incrementally worse, and as it worsens, and as the time goes on, they restrict more and more and more. Obviously, the first go-to would be shutting down bars. All right, you have thousands of people going
South by
downtown and
Southwest.
being close to each other and fucking around, and it's just they're sweaty. I mean, if you go to a bar on Dirty 6th Street, you probably have the antibodies to fight this. But, you go home, you see your parents, you see your grandparents, you do this, you do that, and whatever. It's not like, I don't think that it's the end of the world. I don't think that it's apocalypse. I think a lot of this is just like, we're trying to slow everything down so that way we can keep a handle on it, because they didn't shut down Mardi Gras in Louisiana, and look at the shit show they're having. Not only do they have COVID-19 going on, they got fucking tornadoes and shit happening through their state right now. So I can't even imagine what it is to be a first responder or a healthcare official or anything
hear
like
you.
that.
And we had
Louisiana.
tornadoes from that same system the day before here in Central Texas.
I hear you, but
We didn't have any tornadoes in Central Texas.
Yeah, we had two of them.
In Central Texas?
From Fredericksburg to just north of Fredericksburg to just north of
no one died,
to
but they're
Jonestown.
small.
No. Oh,
Okay.
yeah. Really, like tornadoes or like twisters or little like.
Stop getting your news from Jason
So-
Dick. He went on because he's now one of the co-hosts of
Hey,
KLBJ
hey.
Sports Show.
Hey.
Yeah.
Getting my news from Jason Dick. Jason Dick doesn't give out
So
news.
if everything you said was true, and we have shuttered up businesses,
Right.
and we have closed things down,
Right.
because we need to pause and really take this serious.
Yeah.
Where are all the patients at?
They all died.
This
They're
fucking guy.
furloughing hospitals.
Right.
They're sending doctors home.
Right.
There's no long lines.
Maybe
anywhere.
we did
I
a
went
really
and
good
got your-
job. Maybe we did a really
No,
good
no,
job.
I'm talking about New
pulling the
Orleans,
brakes.
in New York.
In Seattle.
I looked that shit up. I didn't find anything that you were talking about. What I did find was that hospitals or employers and stuff like that were telling their doctors and nurses and stuff like that, don't go to the media spreading bullshit that you don't need to be spreading. Like you don't like.
The
We
National
need to
Guard.
keep a handle on everything so that we're not like causing hysteria. So like nurses that have worked 3 days straight aren't going to the media all wide-eyed and bruised and like saying that everybody's going to fucking die because they're losing their minds because they're working so much. I mean, there's a stress on the healthcare system, and there also has to be disciplinary measures as well.
Okay.
They can't just let people run around doing what they want.
Where?
You just said those people that got fired. That's what I was looking up earlier. That's what I looked up right when you tweeted it. I was like, that's
No, no, no.
bullshit. I got to find out more.
Stop.
I got to find out more what this guy's talking about because he's not going to cite me a source. So I'm going to go look it up myself on Google.
They're
and I found it.
getting furloughed because there's no patients.
It's called capacity reduction. The
Right.
National Guard shut down and
tents in
tore
Central
down
Park.
their.
Empty.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
ship.
they shut down toward it.
Empty.
Yeah.
Oh, the mass grave that they showed?
Yeah.
That's normal.
No, I know.
88 million people in New York.
The bodies in the
died. Yeah, those are
on the
mostly
island and shit
transes,
like that. Yeah, they've
homeless.
been burying people out there for like 20 years.
For years.
Yeah.
And CBS, the
So
foot. Yeah.
where are all the patients?
What do you mean we're all?
We shut down Austin. They almost took your job because the mayor's trying to keep up with everybody else in appearances. And I went by 5 hospitals,
Yeah.
and they're empty.
I mean, we only have like 300 people infected in what's it called?
So
Well, actually, I think it's more than that.
I went
but,
with your sister and got tested. There was 4
Right.
cars there.
right in the hour
So
that you were there.
So where's but shouldn't the line be around the block?
No, because
Shouldn't
they
there be
call and they
mass panic?
schedule people and they say, "Hey, you're good to go. You'll be here at this time," so that they don't have lines around the block, so they don't have all this, this backup. And obviously they're not going to be able to like, hey, everybody get in a line 6 feet apart. Go ahead and make a block around the entire fucking hospital. Sit here while your lungs are bleeding or whatever the hell else is going on. We'll get to you when we can get to you. Or it's the 21st century. Patty, you keep leaning forward. Or it's the 21st century and you have cell phones and telecommunication where you can sit there and call people like, all right, here, come in for testing. We'll get you
Seattle
in there.
was
So they don't
supposed to
want
be.
to like, what's it called? They don't want to overload the system.
Seattle was supposed to be one of the big epicenters of the COVID outbreak.
wasn't it?
The National Guard set up a giant field operation which could have handled, 300, 400, 500 patients all at the same time. They saw 0 patients, and they've shut it down, and they're tearing down the temporary facility.
Viewer from Washington.
Right.
Hospitals are empty. I'm not denying that
The numbers are all
somewhere
fake.
Somebody believe. I'm not.
Let's go
The
find
number-
these politicians that are doing this bullshit.
number-
Let's just like go beat them up in the streets.
The
and shit.
numbers are there. The numbers aren't fake.
Yeah.
The numbers haven't changed. But if you look at the
I mean,
numbers,
okay.
I mean, if this were to hit our small town of Hutto or even
Yeah.
Austin, that'd be crazy numbers. But we're talking about a population of 330 million people. We're talking
Yeah.
about a world population of 8 billion.
Right.
This is minuscule. This is nothing. This is a bad weekend in a major city with high crime rate.
And here's a good example, Alex.
20,000
all
people
I'm
die in a
asking-
weekend
all I'm
in
asking,
in Chicago. The streets are just laden with blood.
You should see how much gun
Add 'em
violence they
all
have in
up.
Chicago.
Add them all up. all the hot spots in the world probably lose more people to violence than here. But
This
look,
week
don't-
in the blooded, scorned streets of Chirac.
Alex, here's a good example. They say old people are more susceptible to this virus. Okay, Rand Paul tested positive, and he was supposedly interacting with his fellow senators and congressmen across the Capitol
Right.
during the whole period. What's the average age of Congress? Like what, 67? And a lot of the more prominent people, such as Nancy Pelosi as the Speaker of the House, and
turn it
is
political.
80 years
Don't
old.
Turn it political.
But here's the example: Schumer is in his 70s.
Right.
Why hasn't anyone gotten sick in Congress if old people are supposed to be vulnerable and the average age of what?
Hold on, I got an answer for that, and then we're going to get back on track.
Probably because they can
'cause I'm
afford to like
still-
fuck off and be on their own.
Because
Swine flu is worse. I agree.
one, there are Congress people getting sick, not just Rand Paul. There's been a bunch of them, and you can look that up. They're the leadership of our nation, so obviously they're going to have a higher level of care than us, because more, some are more equal than others.
Yeah.
Same with the president. I mean, you go to those press briefings, you get checked on the way in, you get checked on the way out. So there's a higher level of security, even at the. I mean, what was our the loudmouth from Texas that ran for president?
Oh shit! Which one?
Oh yeah, good point. Which one?
The Hispanic guy.
Yeah, Beto O'Rourke.
Canada.
Except for he's
No,
not
from
Hispanic.
Canada.
Oh, Ted Cruz.
Ted Cruz.
Oh.
Ted Cruz tested positive, and Ted Cruz tested positive. He went home. But that's not the point. That's not the point I'm trying to make. I'm not trying to say it's fake. I'm not trying to say people aren't dying. I'm not trying to say any of that stuff.
I'm not trying to say
What
that
I'm
Ted
trying
Cruz.
to say, don't disrupt me. What I'm trying to say is
Right.
the propaganda doesn't match the facts, and facts don't care about people's feelings. The facts are, this ain't killing people like we're being led to believe.
You said that last week, and 10,000 people were dead. It's jumped up to 20. And the week before that, 5,000 people were dead.
I'm not saying, yeah, but I've also already proved that not everybody that's being counted died
You haven't
from
proved
COVID.
shit. I haven't seen anything about that. I'm sorry. You can tell me, like, here on you pull up an article and read
Pull
a
it
part
up
of the
on
article
Google
where
right
they
now.
say it.
Pull it up on Google and look for it.
You do. You're the one that's citing it. That's not
I
mine.
already did. That's why I'm
burden
citing
of
it.
proof isn't on the. Look up. What is he looking up?
There needs to be an antibody
Your word.
test because it's going to show that there's a much
I'm
larger
gonna go test for
percentage.
antibodies for sure.
There's and it's going to
yeah.
and what the and what
But look up.
Okay, give me that. You know how well antibody tests work? They fucking don't. Okay, all it's gonna show you are a whole bunch of false positives and false negatives because technically an antibody test could be like, congratulations, you caught the fucking cold, which is in the same family of coronaviruses. So you definitely have the antibody, except for the one for coronavirus. So like, no, antibody tests do not work. Like, seriously, pathology is not about like, it's reactionary. So when everybody like dies, you're like, oh, maybe we should figure this out. Like, no, this is gonna like keep going, and I guarantee you, like,
I need keywords here.
I'm thinking,
He's the one that looked it up.
right? Let's see when 400,000 people die, and I'm gonna be like over here, like, I told you so. 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 Because that's what's gonna happen.
what I'm getting at with the antibody test is it's not
Washington Post, less than 30 seconds.
Yeah.
The U.S. Center for Disease Control and Prevention counts only deaths in which the presence of the coronavirus is confirmed in a laboratory test. Not that it caused the death, that was confirmed that they had it.
So if someone gets hit by a car, they're gonna just be like, "Hey, test this."
Yes, that's what I'm trying to say.
It's like saying it's like saying somebody got hit by a car and they had a beard.
If
Oh,
they
he has a
died,
beard.
the
That's what caused his
17-year-old
death.
That tested positive corona, died of a drug overdose, but that was a COVID death. They reported it as a COVID death.
Where?
In the news!
He just cited the Washington Post.
Washington Post didn't say anything about no 17-year-old fucking
No,
overdosing.
the 17-year-old were the mayor of the town, the
That was
17.
vague. That wasn't even like direct. Like what you just said wasn't even directly addressing your point.
People are dying.
Vague.
No, my point was that people are being counted that didn't die directly from COVID, but they tested positive for having the virus.
Okay.
And they're inflating the numbers. On top of the fact that with all the 20,000 deaths, that's less than 1/5 of 1% of our total population, but they're painting it like we're all going to die. And that's propaganda. That's what I'm not saying this isn't bad. I'm not saying I don't care about the people that died from the coronavirus.
Right.
I'm not saying we shouldn't take precautions, though, like we do every year with the flu. I'm not saying any of that. What I'm saying is that the propaganda doesn't match the numbers. That's all I'm saying.
And once we get a
and I want to know why.
And once we-
why is our entire country shut down for this when every year we lose up? The worst year was what, 2015? We lost 52,000 people from the flu that we have a vaccine for. But we're not shutting down Walmart. We're not shutting down HEB. We're not buying up all the toilet paper. Guys, you gotta have to explain that one to me. I have no fucking idea why we're doing that. Oh, what is it? 9:39.
They said at 25 minutes.
We
said
guys
like-
missed it. That's a great bit. I give a shit.
Why is it a bit? Why is that a bit?
I don't know,
We're
because
adults.
it's fun. Because it's my show.
We were
and I
we were
want to.
25 minutes in when he said.
Yeah,
And
Alex,
Now we
anyway,
got Austin down there saying everybody's got to wear a mask. Now here's the thing.
which is unenforceable.
No, we're with all this information.
Right.
Where are all the people?
Once we have a reliable antibody test, it's probably going to show half the world population has this thing, which means that if you take everyone that's been exposed
And they all die.
to the amount of deaths that are actually being attributed because it was in your system, regardless if it actually caused you to die or not, that percentage is going to drop significantly.
Don't break my stuff, man.
that one's don't break that. That's mine. I'm gonna be using that. Dean says we need to stress as much as radar. Straight up chilling.
Oh, radar cam is live tonight, guys.
Yep.
She's like, I don't care. I go on walks every day.
She gets all the lovin's. Will you stop poking me? Take that away from him before he breaks it.
And so we've added $3 trillion to the national debt, which comes out to $18,000 of new debt per person just for this alone. We shut down the economy. Was a GDP drop of 40%, unemployment rate of 30%. People's mental health is going out the window because they can't literally go out the window if they're being cooped up alone. I mean, it just seems like there's an ulterior motive to this.
Got a viewer on TikTok says, I live in Austin. I don't wear a mask or gloves. And let's talk about masks and gloves here real quick. Now,
Yo, you can
when I was in the military, you turn it off when you're doing all that. So that way it doesn't. Just flip the mic off. Good Lord. When I was in the military, one of my specialties, I was in field artillery, and one of my specialties that I picked up was as a specialist in nuclear, chemical, and biological warfare. So biological warfare, of course, is viruses. That's when you infect something and you drop it on your enemy to make them die or disable them enough to where you can then roll over them with your tanks and guns and all that other stuff.
It's terrible. So terrible.
The masks that everybody is wearing around their mouth, again, I'm going to mention this and I'm going to talk to you about this because I'm concerned that you could be making it worse, and let me tell you why. When you see people in a hospital environment wearing gloves and wearing masks, that's not so they necessarily don't catch anything from the patients they're working with. That's so they don't spread any infection to the patients they're working with their skin, with germs they may have picked up on their hands. That's why, that's why when doctors go into surgery, not only do they scrub their hands, they also put them behind gloves. Now, here's the problem, and here's why you're probably putting yourself in greater danger. When the virus that we're dealing with cannot be absorbed through the skin. Eyes, nose, and mouth. That's why they tell you not to
touch your face.
touch your face.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of that, like you can, you can hear like Darth Vader over there just breathing into the fucking mic.
So here's what I want you to think about. The virus also doesn't fly. It's heavier than air. So if somebody coughs or sneezes, it falls to the ground. So unless they cough directly into your face or sneeze onto something that you're going to handle, you're not going to walk through a cloud of coronavirus because it'll settle to the ground. It can't live for very long outside of a host, especially in the sunlight. Outside, in the sun. Doesn't last very long because it's a living virus. It dissolves. So when you put the gloves on and you put the mask on and you touch stuff, you can pick up the virus. And then when you constantly readjust the mask on your face, you're putting the virus next to your eyes. Now, I don't wear gloves and I don't wear a mask simply for that reason. I do wash my hands. I do drink lots of fluids and keep hydrated. And I practice the social distancing, not necessarily for me, but because I know it's important to other people, and I'm going to respect them. If I walk down the aisle of H-E-B when I'm shopping for favor, and a lady plasters herself up against the side of the aisle, or seems like I'm cornering her, I will back out of the way and let her get clear, only because I know it's important to her. I'm not going to try to force my opinion about all this on everybody. But if you are going to wear gloves and a mask to make yourself feel better, understand that you are probably putting yourself at more risk when you're out in the open.
Especially since these people are not going to clean these masks, so that's just going to pick up other pathogens. And
I mean, that's more of a hygiene issue. But with the gloves, if you're going to wear the gloves, you're going to have to take an entire box of gloves, and every time you touch something, take that pair off and throw it out and put a new pair on.
Cross-contamination.
Or you can just wash your hands.
I saw a guy this morning I was on my way to a job site, and I look over, and this dude is wearing a mask, like on his forehead or whatever, and he's eating a burger with a glove on.
See, that's what I'm talking about.
And I was like, "You mad lad, what are you doing?"
He's eating rubber is what he's doing because the rubber residue is getting on his burger.
I don't
so
think
he's
he gives a shit.
But he's
it looked like a tasty burger, but
Well,
but the guy was just like chomping down.
That's not really a thing, although it's funny. But if you had the coronavirus on the glove,
he's just contaminated
the
his
glove
burger.
doesn't kill the coronavirus. You just keep
it from getting it on your skin.
You just keep it from getting on your skin where it can't be absorbed anyway, and you can wash it off with either. And here's another thing, and you can look this up.
Great.
We have on our hands, if we wash our hands once or twice a day, that's about.
Wash your hands once or twice a day.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I might wash them once, like right before I eat or when I do the dishes, they naturally get washed. We have on our hands a natural bacteria that's part of our defense system that helps us kill viruses that we come in contact with. It's part of our immune system. There are people that have OCD where they wash their hands constantly. They get sick because they wash away that bacteria, that natural occurring bacteria that we have.
That shit smells.
And that also happens if you use an excessive amount of hand sanitizer. Now, right now, HEB makes you get a squirt of hand sanitizer every time you go into their store. Now, again, I do it because it's important to them, and I'm not here to try to make a stand. I just need to go get the groceries, and I'm getting them for older people. So after I get the hand sanitizer, then I go in and wash the hand sanitizer off in the bathroom because I don't want it to kill the natural bacteria that I have growing on my hands. It's part of my defense system. So if you're wearing gloves and a mask, understand that I'm not going to tell you what to do, but if you're walking around with gloves and a mask on and you think that's keeping you safe, especially if people are wearing scarves and cloth masks, now there's a whole industry of masks that people are making, like custom masks. They don't really do any good.
No.
Now,
They'll keep what's coming out of your mouth.
they'll keep what's coming out of your mouth from getting on somebody. But it's really not going to keep anything that, especially if you touch it with your hands, it'll get through that and into your system. Or like I say, all I see all day long in the stores are people walking around with gloves on with the N95 mask, which is this like catch-all mask, which it's not, but and they're sitting here adjusting it on their nose or moving it, they're picking it up, they're grabbing onto it. That's just as bad as not wearing a mask at all. So,
And the thing I've also noticed too is that the excessive hand washing, you're also washing off all the natural oils off your hands, so your skin's getting chapped, and it's getting really annoying.
great question from Dean, our viewer. How many homeless have gotten it and have died? Because you know a homeless immune system is freaking.
that bad.
A homeless immune system is tough.
Yeah.
So you're not hearing about
They're
a lot
also
of homeless.
predominantly probably smokers, and they probably don't have the healthiest diet either. So
Yeah,
they're probably
and their alcohol is probably 0.3% alcohol.
So I mean, yeah, that's a good point.
That is a
Homeless
very
people
good
But yeah, he's exactly right. You don't see even a testing positive pandemic in the hobo camps either.
So
I mean, so we should look into that.
and a lot of that herd immunity happens in homeless camps because that's kind of how
Which
we as a human race get through viruses.
which we're defeating by having people sit in their homes and social distance themselves, and if they're not getting sunlight, they're not getting vitamin D.
Oh no, people are getting sunlight.
They're definitely spending a lot of time outside.
Yeah.
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 Been kicking so much.
I threw a picture up on Facebook of a dog that was all the way up on top of the kitchen. It's like, no, I've already walked 20 times a day. Leave me alone. It's like, hey, the big winners in this are the dogs, man. The big winners in this are the dogs. Radar's pooped, man.
Yeah.
We walk at least a mile, 2 miles. We did 2 miles today because I was kind of bored. She gets to go out and sniff and bark stuff.
Did you see her ears just moving up, going like, no, 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 I'm just lying here. I'm
Never
enjoying
on
myself.
Radar. The radar cam.
Yeah, that was a great idea. Good job, Davis.
So I think a lot of people are like me. I think we're starting to do basic math and start to look around and see these things. And I don't know how much. Has anyone with lupus tested positive or died from the Rona? I don't know. I don't know.
Lupus have already died
From corona or from lupus?
from corona with lupus.
From
Yeah.
complications from corona because of lupus.
And lupus is cancer, right?
No, it's like
No.
it's a stomach.
It's an autoimmune disorder.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, well, the flu would probably kill him too.
Yeah, no. Like lupus is actually extremely treatable, but then like if you get like something really bad, it'll pretty much like murder you
You can survive the flu with.
with lupus pretty easily. But like
It's the hyperinflation and the blood pressure with that's. I mean, I had saw. I can't remember. Off the top.
Oh
of
no!
my head.
Look it up.
And I
Turn
can
this
look it
mic
up.
on, Patty.
It is on.
And then what about the interview of
But
Doc-
people that are predominant, like most of the people that have been dying in New York, and I'll look it up here in a second. They've been saying have been obese. Obese and old is a large trend of the amount of fatalities.
And that's why it's hitting the African American population
That's what they're saying. Is that like because
because of
you know, the
diabetes and
sickle
and
cell.
overweight. Not sickle cell, just because
sickle cell doesn't make you fat.
they're overweight like me.
Yeah,
Hey, you're not overweight.
I mean
Now-
they're overweight like a lot of Americans.
Now there's been an interesting interview by Dr. Shiva
we're Americans too.
Aidaria, MIT PhD.
Wait, what was the name of that?
Dr. Shiva Ayyaduri, Ayyad.
That's not what you said.
It's hard to pronounce.
trust the street poopers anyway.
Don't say that.
Now, I posted this on my personal Facebook page and on the OTA page about 6 hours ago, and half the people are going around saying, "Oh, he's a quack because he claims he invented email." And I go like, "Well, he got his PhD from MIT in 2007 after the email controversy, and he had this whole interview posted where he was stating that putting people on ventilators is the absolute worst thing you can do with somebody whose lungs are already filled up with fluid because you're overpressurizing the lungs and causing them to burst." And what he was stating in the interview, this is intravenous vitamin C, which is treatment. And he has his PhD in, give me 1 second here,
He has a PhD.
from MIT in systems biology with his thesis focusing on modeling whole cell by integrated molecular pathway models.
Oh, he's big brain. Big brain. I know,
What did he say?
but that's some big brain stuff right there, man.
Are you pointing the
I
mic
thi-
at me? I have a mic right here.
Busy over here.
He's busy drinking
He's drinking
his water.
But he's basically a huge critic of Dr. Doom and Gloom, Dr. Fallacy, Dr. Falsey. And the interesting thing, too, is where the arguments were stating that the Trump administration was ignoring the experts back for several months. Well, there was a video that was unearthed from Falsey, whatever how you pronounce his last name, that was on the Today Show from February 29th and stated people shouldn't change their behaviors at the current moment.
Dean brings up a good point that all the people that are self-quarantined, which I don't know where up in Washington, but here in Austin, Texas, or around, everybody's out walking around. I mean, kids are outside playing.
Oh, yeah, people are out on the roads
So
again.
they're not staying inside. Maybe some other places you are, but he made a good point that the people staying inside, their immune systems are becoming weakened because it's not being exposed to the things to make it. So after this, people are going to start getting sick.
Wait, so does Dean live in Washington?
Yeah,
Oh, where at? Piss off.
Seattle, I think.
Seattle. Around the
That
Seattle area.
sucks. You're in the worst part of Washington. Boo.
So, Bad Mike's from
Boo.
Washington, Dean. So
Yeah, I lived in cooler places. Seattle, like Pierce County and King County. Crap.
pay no attention.
I love
Worst counties.
Dean's comment over here. Coronavirus affects the lungs. Damn. Proceeds to hit vape.
Yeah, Patty. When you get the Ronas and you permanently have like weird, like, I don't know, like not black lung, but like crack lung or some other weird bullshit, I'm gonna be
Vape
like,
lung.
yeah, I told you so. Take that old.
So
popcorn
Ogden
ass."
13 on TikTok. How am I putting out flawed information? All I'm doing is reading off data that I found.
Kitsap County,
in my
Davis is where he's
investigation.
from.
Oh, Kitsap County. Yeah,
Yeah.
still,
Kitsap County.
Kitsap.
Yeah, still,
That's a cool name, Kitsap.
dude. There's a lot
Why are
of
you
like,
insulting our listeners?
because I'm insulting where he lives.
That's
Where you're from?
yeah, Davis.
No,
You're,
I'm in cooler places, man.
you're from Washington.
Before the chickenpox vaccine, wasn't there the whole thing of the pox parties? If one kid had
Yeah.
chickenpox, you had
Well,
all
that's
the
what
kids play
happened.
together. Yeah.
That's what happened. I think either Alex got the chicken pox or
That's how mine was when I was a kid.
that was Alex got the chicken pox. It was Alex, Vicky, and one of the neighborhood kids came over and they hung out. So they all got the chicken pox.
Yeah, my mom made me go I think it was one of my friends had it. My mom was like, "You need to go hang out with them." I'm like, "But they're sick, Mom." She's like, "I don't give a shit." Went and hung out with them, got chicken pox, and I was like, "This sucks," because I got like one of the pox thingies was like right between like my pinky toe and like the other toe, and it hurt so bad.
Dean was in the Navy. That's why he's from Washington. He's from Boston.
Boston.
Boston. He's a Tom Brady fan.
Now
Now he was a Patriots fan, but now he's a Tampa Bay fan.
Garbo. Did you hear Cam Newton might be going to the Patriots?
Really?
Yeah, I saw that somewhere online the other day.
I haven't listened to.
Since sports haven't been on, you're just not watching sports.
No, I listen to Colin Cowherd every day.
Okay.
Speaking of sports, let's have a moment of silence for the XFL.
Disrespect.
Disrespect. Hey, you know what? In all honesty, though, the XFL was pretty cool.
Yeah, they just filed for bankruptcy today, which is
Yeah,
unfortunate.
You know, here. Well, hold on. Let me point something out here, because you sound
Bankruptcy.
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 because you kind of sound like Rachel Maddow.
Me.
You. Because every day she's on railing about how President Trump is screwing up the economy, forgetting that we're in the middle of a pandemic.
Right.
And you're over here saying, "Oh, they filed for bankruptcy." Well, we're kind of in the middle of a pandemic.
I understand that.
So, yeah, them and all the other businesses in this country are filing for bankruptcy. So they didn't fail because they suck.
They were actually
failed
pretty good.
because bad timing.
Yeah.
It's actually quite enjoyable to watch. I mean, the Houston team was good.
Yeah, they were 5-0, and the St. Louis team was going to actually have 45,000 people in that dome, which is about 2/3 capacity on the game that got canceled on the next game on their schedule. It's just unfortunate.
Yeah.
They were going to give a bunch of these players
So I hope
a second and third.
I hope they're able to.
I hope they find a buyer.
Yeah, you're right. Back to earth. No one wants to hear the blame game. That's why I'm really. I muscle through enough news to get information, and then I got to turn it off because then it just becomes redundant.
Houston wouldn't
depending
have
on
won.
who you listen
though.
to, it's become redundant. CNN, it's all about fear. Everybody's going to die.
Houston wouldn't have won the XFL.
Oh, you
'cause-
think the Battlehawks would have actually won it?
If you
well,
listen,
no, Houston would. Sorry to interrupt. Houston wouldn't have won because they're.
if you listen to MSNBC, I got control.
Yeah, well, I have control of the camera, so I can just put the camera on either.
Let's not do this, ladies.
Yeah, you can, and I'll still keep talking.
Children.
What a douche.
So, I mean, you watch Fox.
Off. Your shit's off.
You watch Fox News. You got, they're kind of a cheerleader for the administration.
Tucker Carlson and Sean Hannity.
Yeah, those guys, the propagandists. You watch. So it's hard to. I try to watch C-SPAN, but I don't think Hulu has C-SPAN. So
Just go to the website.
Don't they stream it directly?
Yeah, you can go to www.cspan.net.
yeah. So I haven't seen that in a while, but I'll start doing that.
on there being a bitch about anything.
Yeah, that's just straight.
up, here's what's going on.
It's
Yeah.
literally C that is spanned.
So, but I get as much information as I can, and this is just an observation. I know we had a pretty heated discussion about it, but the observation, I'm not saying that it's fake news. I'm not a Republican. That's what we have Leland here for, to kind of give us that angle. I'm saying is that what I'm seeing and what's being reported doesn't match up with the information. That's what I'm saying.
mean, I can agree with that, but I don't think there's some like malicious Doctor Doom coordinating all this thing like to make it.
No, but we
the
have some
entire country just,
interesting.
like, get
We have
shut
some.
down.
We do have some interesting conspiracy theories. The main one, and the kind of a road I walked down today. And if anybody's, as a matter of fact, I'm going to put the link in the thing here. And it's a documentary. It's on YouTube. It's called From JFK to 9/11. And I got halfway through it,
How many lizard people were they?
and I got freaked the hell. No, it had no. I mean, it doesn't go all Alex Jones.
Yeah.
I mean, and there's some things in it I question, only because it doesn't match up with things I've discovered on my own. But what it's saying is that this is all rich people doing this. The Rothschilds, the Illuminati,
Rockefellers.
the Rockefellers, and that one of the leading conspiracies from a guy named Q, who is rumored to be John F. Kennedy Jr., who faked his own death
I've
so
heard
he
that
could
theory.
go undercover to help Trump get to the Trump's a big part of it, to help Trump. And this virus is being touted. I shot some holes in it, and we'll get to that in a second. But this whole virus is being manipulated and touted worldwide to get us into a state of, one, distraction, and two, to get us off airplanes and off of modes of transportation. And the hospital ships aren't there for patients, but they're there actually for all the free children that they're gonna get from the pedophile ring, the Pizzagate pedophile ring, worldwide. And now I'm just telling you the theory. I've shot holes in it already, but that's one of the main theories right now is that this whole cabal, the whole cabal of the Satan worshipers, the rich people that basically profited off that's what you'd be interested in is the first part of it. They talked about how the bankers and Ford and everything profited off helping Hitler build Nazi Europe, and then continued to buy them, sell them stuff during the war, and profited both sides. So that was interesting.
Yeah, it was like Bush Senior was a
Prescott Bush.
Well, both
Prescott
of them,
Bush.
Herbert Walker and Bush Senior were both. Senior was a Nazi. He was an actual Nazi.
Yeah.
And what heck was it that they took Union banking away from Prescott Bush because he was caught red-handed doing business with the Nazis, and so they seized Union Banking Corporation.
I didn't see that in the thing, but anyway. But I go ahead.
This whole thing is a gigantic ruse to get children onto
To save the children from this big network of pedophiles. Yeah.
Wait, to save the children?
Save the children from the pedophiles.
From the pedophiles.
And then arrest all the pedophiles. But they needed us compliant. They needed us they needed everything shut down so that they could clear the way to go do that, and it wouldn't be.
See, they don't have to do all this. All they gotta do is just start the boog and let all the boog boys handle all the pedophiles for you.
There you go.
Yep.
I know. I shoot it through. I've shot it full of holes.
That's highly improbable.
But that's
I don't know.
I'm just saying that's one of the
You've been a project
conspiracies.
manager, right?
Yeah.
Have you been a project manager?
Yes.
Have you been a project manager? Yeah. So we can all agree that it's virtually fucking impossible to get anything to do anything that you want them to do.
Yeah.
It's like herding cats.
Yeah.
I'm pretty good at that, though. So. That's besides the point. Please continue.
So I'm just saying that's one of the conspiracies. Another one I heard today, which I know, but
they could just be like, "Hey, everybody, we found all these elite pedophiles. We're gonna go throw them into a volcano, and then we need you guys to be chill with it."
The link that I put up there,
and everyone would be like, "Yeah, I don't give a shit. I'm just here to sling drinks and get drunk." So
the link I put up there isn't this conspiracy, but it was interesting. It was interesting. I mean, there was some.
That's crazy.
I mean, but it's a good watch. It's a good watch. I mean, there's some things that are gonna like. I don't know about that. But there's some things that they bring up that were gets you to think. So it's a good watch. It didn't have
So
anything
when
to
they
do with
did,
the pedophiles.
when they did 9/11,
one
did they do
theory.
the whole hologram theory? How like there wasn't any planes
No,
actually? It was
not
a
in
hologram.
This, not in this.
All right.
Not in this. But it
That's
was.
dumb.
But it was. But it was an event that was designed to do that.
Hologram?
No.
Oh.
No. It actually happened. They flew planes in there.
Yes.
Yeah,
But it wasn't.
that happened.
It wasn't the guy that did it. It was actually our own CIA that set all that stuff up.
Plus all the put options on the airlines, so they knew that the airlines would have their stocks crater because of it, as well as the stand down of the
and
national defense system.
Yeah, the dude that owned the building took out like an insurance policy.
Larry Silverstein.
That
prior
was
to-
specifically like kind of like outlined terrorism.
They covered that.
They covered that.
And
okay,
also
yeah.
a lot of the SEC cases, including Enron, were in Building
Now, here's
7.
Just so that you guys know, I do agree that hey, that's a lot of weight. Even 10-foot drops, whatever, that whole some bitch is coming down. But as far as the Twin Tower goes, I can get on board with that happening
Yeah.
naturally, tragically. But yeah, Building 7, come on.
Yeah.
There's no possible way.
Well, and then another
No way at
theory,
all.
another
Nice, by the way.
conspiracy theory, and this one's kind of here's the deal. If I were in a position of power, and I knew there was a extinction level event about ready to happen to everybody on the planet, the last thing I would be worried about would be making money. I mean, maybe for shits and giggles, just because I knew it was all going to end anyway, right? And there was nobody going to be around anyway. But the another theory is that we have an extinction level, or at least a comet or a asteroid heading towards Earth that's going to wipe out a lot of the planet.
I said a couple weeks ago to Yellowstone supervolcano.
And hold on, you're jumping ahead. And that this whole thing is worldwide to get people to stop traveling, to lessen how many people die because they're not flying in the area where it's going to hit. And I haven't heard.
I mean, there's not that many people that are up in the air at that any given time.
I
right?
know,
Like,
but
yeah.
that's the thing. I mean, that's one of the things that you have to question. I mean, that's one of the things you have to question.
There was what country was it? I think it was Nigeria. They just had a meteorite come in. It was about the size of a softball, and it like blew off I don't know. It blew out the road.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Something
And
that's small.
Krakatoa just recently erupted, and then there's the seismic stuff underneath the Yellowstone supervolcano, and then there's a huge.
That's going to be exciting.
And
Now,
there's a
moving
huge.
on to the next theory is the supervolcanoes. Oh, still on the meteorite, man.
I'm interested in the meteorite.
So yeah, so that's another one. But what doesn't make sense to me that if we have, like you said, there's not that many people in the air.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're trying to save lives, I mean, I can see not telling everybody, hey, there's big meteors coming and it's going to probably hit somewhere in Europe, because that would cause a total breakdown of society. So I get kind of, which would be awesome, but I kind of get, but why do anything? Why not just not say anything?
That's a good point. Like, why
even bring it up?
Why even make shit?
Oh, you
that-
knew about it and you could have done something. What? It's a fucking meteor.
We could have done some shit. Elon Musk is like, no, you can't tell Elon Musk what's going on. That guy's going to be on top of it. He's like, we're going to launch a Corvette at it, filled with nukes.
Filled with nukes and men with machine guns.
On a starship.
Space Cowboys,
No. It wasn't Space Cowboys. Armageddon and Deep Impact.
Deep Impact. Yeah, deep.
Space Cowboys was a
Russian satellite
Russian
with nukes.
satellite with nukes on it that went rogue.
So they sent Tommy Lee Jones and what's his name up there?
Well, the storyline.
You guys hate Russians.
Well, here's the story.
Why don't you get up there and show
Here's-
them what for?
Here's the storyline. The Clint Eastwood character was also a scientist, and he designed a guidance system that they were supposed to use on the moon landings and stuff like that. But he never got we never progressed on to that and went on to other things. And so the United States government on the sly sold that technology to Russia, who then put it in one of their satellites with nuclear warheads that then went rogue. And the only guy that knew how to fix it is the guy who invented it, who is now in his late 70s. So he gets.
We're gonna subject your body to multiple G's.
He gets the team together, and they're gonna fly up there. And
We're on a
fix
mission
this.
from God.
Yeah, they're gonna fly up and fix the satellite. And Tommy Lee Jones finds out before he takes off that he's got terminal cancer, and he always wanted to go to the moon. He was one of the guys at Apollo 17 or 18 that didn't get to go to the moon. So that's so he straps himself into this thing to save the world because he's gonna die anyway. And then the final scene is where he lands on the moon and he crawled up and turned around and died facing Earth, sitting on the moon.
I don't remember that much of the movie, but that's pretty wild. I should watch that again.
Well, you know.
Wow, dude! Spoiler alert. Jeez, man.
All I could think of is
Yeah,
like
it's only been out for like 12 years, 20 years.
It's been out for 20.
Tommy Lee Jones is like over here flying in space, and all I can think of is every time I watch like Men in Black, and they're like, "You do know Elvis is dead, right?" And he's like, "Elvis ain't dead. He just went home." Goddamn.
Dude, William Dafoe's.
So there's
Willem
and Dean
Dafoe.
brought up the fact
Right,
that somebody one company owns a majority. Hold on, I missed it. Anyway, he said a jail emptied a jail because of the coronavirus, and I'm thinking,
Yeah.
you're in jail. How are you gonna get it? You're in a controlled environment.
You know what you're gonna be doing if you were gonna
And
be
it's
doing
also-
the same thing too.
And it's also heard what is it?
Breaking the law.
They're releasing inmates that haven't committed a violent crime because they
Yeah.
shouldn't be in there in the first place. Because the infirmaries and shit like that, like the hospitals that they have and jails, won't be able to accommodate
and they suck.
a pandemic. And no, I mean the guards go in and out every day. You know, they're in there. It's not the most like hygienic place at all times, kind of thing. You know, and if it did happen, I mean it's communicable. You know, so it's not like if someone's in their jail cell or whatever and they have it, that the person next to them won't end up getting it because I mean, you know, people rest on the bars, they do all this, they do all that.
Well, I'm going to
Spit
tell you
at
right,
each other. And
spit at
one of-
each other.
That's one of the reasons why I think that my immune system. Well, I know my immune system is tough as nails because I spent that time as a corrections officer in the jail.
I was gonna,
And that-
yeah,
and
it's
that
because
place
he liked to get
is-
spit on.
I mean, well, yeah, spit on, fighting. I mean,
Yeah.
you're in a
Yeah.
closed environment.
Keep
you walk
talking.
you walk into the closed environment, the closed cells. I mean,
it's so kind of, you know, it's like it's like they powder them down when they go in so they don't spread.
Delouse them.
They
tastes like
louse 'em,
sugar.
powder them down. You know.
Yeah, fleas hate sugar.
Yeah.
You gotta delouse
Because you
them.
know to keep from getting like scabies or fleas or any of stuff like that. So, I mean,
Actually, fun story. They
you got
don't.
scabies.
They don't.
They don't
EGCG?
delouse people anymore.
Nope.
Is it like unconstitutional or something like that?
You come in and
They spray you down with bleach.
during intake, you go to the intake and you're brought out one at a time and get booked in, and then you're issued a uniform and you go back and get change into the uniform and put all your civilian clothes into a bag.
And they tell you
The
wash
bag
your
gets
hands.
stapled shut and put on a shelf until you're released.
And you have to squat and cough.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Dean says he lived in a sardine can called the USS John C. Stenis. He's good.
You know, well, if you're in the military, you get inoculated for about every goddamn thing in the book. Plus, you know, just being a cop.
Lysol.
Just being a cop, you know, you got who's fingering the
No, I'm not fingering nothing. And I was thinking for a while, we did some pretty intense delousing in the 60s and 70s
What?
over louse.
shut up, man.
How often did they decontaminate the patrol cars?
Not very often. They were not clean places. The backseat of a patrol car is not a good
It's
place to
erotic.
be.
Not a good. So you're saying it's not a good place to bump uglies?
No.
Shame.
Or it's not a good place to sit or do anything else. But but just in dealing with the transient population, dealing with the people that have had going to some of the homes, especially in depressed parts of town. I mean, there'd be times I'd come home and I'd get undressed in the garage because my uniform would stink. It would, especially when you're dealing with dead bodies that have been, fermented after a while, and they just can't get it out of your clothes. So, I'm like Leland here. I think I've already had it because I did have a fever a couple of weeks ago, and I stayed home for a day and didn't work. And what I do right now, on top of acting and doing this and comedy work and voice work, which I've made some money at, is I drive for Uber and Lyft, and I do deliveries for Favor. And Favor right now is really helping out the older population. It's free delivery for the groceries. We go do the grocery shopping for them, which I've learned my HEB like the back of my hand now.
There you go.
To get more efficient getting in and getting out. But so I'm out every day, and I haven't had, outside of that one day where I was down for a day. So I think I might have had it and got rid of it. I didn't have any respiratory stuff though. It was just a fever and
there was a stomach bug going around at the same time too.
Yeah, and then there's also, we're right in the middle of cedar fever.
And we had two guys that had strep throat, and they were out for a week.
Yeah.
They went and got tested, and they tested negative for COVID-19.
Did Vicky get hers back yet?
No, they said Wednesday.
Yeah, it was funny. I'm going to tell the story. It's funny.
I don't know, man.
I'm going to tell it. I'm going to tell it. We went to get my daughter tested because she's been sick, and she works with my son outdoors in doing landscaping. She hasn't been to work. So I took her down to get tested for COVID, and I'm like, yeah, they're going to jam that thing back down your nose. And she's like, no, they're not. It's just going to be a sample out of your cheek. I said, and I decided, I got to the point with both my children now, if I know something's going to happen, I just don't argue with them anymore. So I didn't. So when she turned to the nurse to get the test, she turned and stuck her tongue out. And the nurse jammed that thing down her nose. And she's like, what the hell? I'm like, I tried to tell you. I should have got it. I should have filmed it.
Well, they wouldn't let you, right?
Well, they didn't want to be filmed. They didn't want to be filmed, but I could have turned it so that the nurse.
You're talking about all this getting content and stuff.
I know.
Here you go, dropping the ball.
I'm talking to myself.
Yeah. Oh, so guess what fun thing I did today?
What fun thing did you do?
I bought that stuff that's like FDA approved to like grow your hair back.
Is that cap thing they always advertise? Keeps.
Or yeah. I had to like go online and I had to like take pictures of my head and stuff like that. And then it like put me in touch with some like doctor, physician person in Texas. And then they like prescribed like the best whatever thing. So I have like these pills coming that I have like a 3-month supply of. And then I have like this foam stuff that I'll like put on my head.
Was any of it Rogaine?
It's kind of like, but it's all.
Are you going to dip any on your nuts?
Why would I need to put some on my nuts? I got enough hair down there. So yeah, we're going to be documenting that to see if maybe by the time summer rolls around, if my yarmulke's gone.
I mean, I still think it would be funny for you to throw some on your ball bag.
No.
If you have extra, why not?
Because they give you a 3-month supply, and then in 3 months they refill it. So there are only like 90 pills in there, and that whatchamacallit thing's only is supposed to last you like 3 months. It was like $125 for like a 3-month supply, which
that's
wasn't
not bad.
Yeah, considering like the whole thing altogether was like 50% off. So.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, we're gonna see how that goes. What are you chuckling at over there?
Definitely.
Dean said, you said I had a fever, and no joke, everyone in there looked.
Yeah, we did. We're like, what?
Yeah, and
You get out of here right now. You need to be practicing social distancing.
about to say,
sir.
the only thing that helps you get over a fever, the only medicine for it is more cowbell.
True.
But yeah, No, I can't
I
wait to
feel
see.
my temperature rising.
What? I'm excited to see what happens with your hair, though. If
That's
it gets,
hunk of burning
bigger,
love.
Yeah, I know, but
that'd be awesome.
There's no
Give me
cow.
those
There's no
churchy eyes.
cowbell in that song.
yeah, but that's the only thing I do.
Yeah.
Dun, dun. Whatever. Okay.
Bad.
Bad.
Boo.
So what do you
over there like nodding her head like this, like you suck. She was going like this.
what do you guys? All right. So if there's this huge conspiracy, back to relevance.
Cobra.
Congratulations on getting your hair back. We're all proud of you. We've only been telling you for the past like 4 years that you need to do something about it.
You know what? Screw you. Suck it.
Man,
So thick I can't even run my fingers through it right now.
I don't want to hear
You
it.
know, and I wear a hat every day, man. I'm just graced with it. My dad, on the other hand, has some weird obsession with shaving his head.
Yeah, you should grow your hair out, Mikey Mike.
Yeah, you should get hair like mine, dude. Get a perm.
Doing like the what's called the Danzig fang with the front of the top of his.
The Danzig fang.
It's just a little like little point. You see it? There's a little point and twist coming down.
Oh, you're talking about the fact that he has like a widow's peak.
Who are you calling, Mike?
Chuck.
But no, I mean, what do you? All right, Leland, what do you think is going to be on the other end of this, on the other side? Are the pedophiles going to be hanging from the streets, or is everything going to go back to
I
normal?
wouldn't mind that.
I wouldn't mind that either, but you're not. Well, first of all, the whole thing with the getting people out of the airplanes, you're not doing anything with private aviation. In fact, a lot of these pedophiles are, if they're as wealthy as the names that we have been reading online, they can afford private jets, and there is no restrictions on that. In fact, we could go. In fact, we could go out and fly right now if we had the money to rent an airplane. There's no restrictions on airspace. Likewise, if you look at the airline bailouts, they're forcing these airlines to actually fly routes that are that they have no passengers on it. So that's
to
a myth.
burn up the cash that they have. Or?
That's actually what some of the mainstream reports are saying, is that them taking the bailouts because they quote unquote don't want to reduce access to people. They have to maintain, depending on if it's 1 to 4 flights a week, 1 flight a week, and over 5 and over flights a week per destination, that they have 5 flights a week. What they should have done is they should have just paid the pilots and the flight attendants and mechanics and keep the planes grounded for the most part. I think.
So, yeah, I mean that would like. Yeah,
I think at the end of
you're
this,
paying them
though,
anyway.
if this goes longer, people are not going to have the money to have discretionary income. If this ends right now and it comes out that this was all a complete farce, people are going to want to go to restaurants, they're going to want to go to bars, they're going to want to go to movie theaters, and probably travel. If this keeps going on, people are not going to have the money to travel. People are not going to have the money to go out. And so it just creates this this domino effect of destroying the economy, and it's going to take that much longer for it to come back.
So it seems
Joining us on
go
the
ahead.
Celebrity Hotline is Chuck Licata.
What's up, guys?
What's up, man? Oh, you can't hear him, can you?
I like the radar cam. I love the radar
we're doing
cam.
the radar cam, man. Radar cam's a new thing. We're going to keep that.
What's up with the rest of the boys? They look like they're kind of like just chilling. Or do they have coronavirus and I'm just not aware of it?
No, we're just bored.
We've had some great discussions at the Producer's Board.
Here,
Couldn't figure.
switch spots with me and give me your headphones.
Oh yeah, you won't take my headphones.
You're looking at your phone anyway, Producer. Watching his anime.
I'm gonna play your Switch. This wasn't even
So what's
plugged
up,
in.
Chuck?
What did I miss in hour one?
We were talking.
What did I miss in the first hour?
Well,
My dad
we
being
had,
wrong.
We had a really good conversation about how the facts aren't matching up with the data that we're seeing.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And I was being told I was wrong.
And so,
That all
Really?
the facts
Who
and
said you
data
were
match
wrong?
up completely.
I don't disagree with that. I just don't think
who said,
you're being like cavalier about it. So do you think that they should just reopen the economy and just like say, hey, fuck it, what happens, what happens? What happens, happens?
Well,
Sweden.
That's the question. What would happen?
I don't know. I mean, what's
with
called
the numbers-
Britain. Britain was like one of the last countries to actually like, take it seriously, and they
less
have
than
like
0.5% of their population. So what's going to happen?
Sweden.
I didn't see the most recent numbers, but it was like 10,000 or something.
We're
like
talking worldwide. It's less than.
that. And it's a pretty small.
What's going
island,
to happen?
But
That's the thing. What's going to happen? I think herd immunity is going to happen.
That's what's happening in Sweden.
And that's in Sweden. And Sweden has
well,
better
they're a lot
testing.
healthier
Well,
than us.
and Sweden has better testing, and that's why they have higher numbers.
You eat that lutefisk, it'll kill anything.
Leland did bring up a point that if the entire population of the United States got tested, chances are the people who's been infected by it would be in the millions, and we'd still only have.
You can hear all of that.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. So that's the question. Because we don't do this for the flu. We didn't do it for the swine flu, which was worse. We didn't do it for
SARS.
which was worse.
And
we
both swine and SARS were a variant of the coronavirus itself.
Yeah, it's a coronavirus. It's a virus. So my question is, the last true pandemic that wiped out millions of people was right after World War I.
Spanish influenza.
The Spanish influenza, where it was like almost a quarter of the population of the planet.
Well,
Now,
yeah.
that's a pandemic.
Wasn't the
We're
mayor
talking
of New York?
0.00006%.
Well, I'd read that the mayor of New York was, informed like, hey, there's this big thing that's going down, like, big pandemic. It's raging through Europe and everything like that. And they decided to have, either like a July 4th parade or a New Year's not New Year's, but it was like they went forward with like a city festival and the city parade and whatever.
Yeah.
And like millions of people got infected.
Yeah. And this was the first time, and again, we're talking about 1917.
Yeah.
So communication,
I believe it was St. Louis or was it Philadelphia?
medical facilities
one
and
of those two.
medical facilities and medical technology back then. So
Yeah. I mean, they had like iron lungs. and
it
shit.
wasn't like they immediately. It's not like here where via satellite within minutes we can hear about something that happened in Europe. A lot of times it had to come by steamship. So it was a couple of weeks later that they're getting this information. When the telegraph was still very, very new and not very reliable, they actually had ships stationed halfway across the Atlantic to relay messages. The transatlantic cable hasn't been laid yet. I mean, it was still, we're talking about a different time and different technology and different especially different medical technology. And let's face it, we weren't very clean back then, which means that our immune systems were stronger as a population, and it still wiped out millions. So, now this is 2020. Has anybody talked about how many people recovered from the virus?
Damn straight.
Yeah, in Austin, it's like 140 people have recovered.
It's like what 98% of reported people that were infected. Now, if we get back to having a reliable,
Outside of the people that died.
Yeah.
Well, that were reported died from COVID.
yeah. And the other thing too is that people are more concerned about being triggered about naming the virus itself, because in the past, viruses were named like Spanish flu, German measles. They were named from the origin where the virus came from, and now everyone is completely up in arms when people call it the Chinese virus. Where did the virus come from? Wuhan, China.
Well, everybody was calling it the Chinese virus all the way up until the president called it the Chinese virus, and then it became a propaganda tool.
Even Bill Maher says that's retarded, that people are getting triggered by the.
Hey,
by the
Hey,
Carolyn
let's not
the
use
comic.
retarded. What? What'd you say?
Carolyn the comic.
Oh.
Follow us on the talk.
Well, that's nice.
TikTok.
I don't think there's anything like wrong with calling it, the Wuhan flu or
the Kung flu.
So let me ask you.
maybe Kung flu. Maybe that's a little bit.
If
on
you
there.
if you really if you strip yourself away from all the minutia,
Sweet and sour cough or whatever the fuck
sweet
they call
sour. still think Holocaust was the best.
I don't think so.
It was funny.
It was funny.
It was funny.
It's up there.
It was a little funny.
It was a little funny.
A little bit.
So knowing if you went and looked at the numbers, like I've looked at the numbers, and the empty hospitals, empty hospital beds, and all these places that were created because of the expectation of a massive pandemic overflow, which never happened, even in New York. Do you think that how we're reacting to it by forcing businesses to shut down, forcing
With no end in sight.
with no end in sight or no plan?
Well, what if
I mean, are we
you know,
overreacting?
do you think that maybe by enacting these social distancing and these these regulatory measures and stuff like that, that it
It's a
worked?
good argument.
That the fact that the hospitals aren't overflowing,
That's a
or
good
maybe
argument.
having hospital ships stationed in these highly affected areas preemptively, was a good call. It's better to be prepared.
Yeah.
Right? Better to have it than not need it, and need it not have it. Isn't the Coast Guard's motto always prepared or always faithful? Or no, that's
Boy Scouts.
Boy Scouts. So maybe it was an overreaction. Maybe it worked.
Be a good argument.
I don't know. I can agree with you that the Rachel Maddows and the Tucker Carlsons of the media and everything like that
Don't
are
forget
definitely
Hannity. He's the worst.
Hannity
He is the worst.
are pushing an agenda. The Wolf Blitzer, or whatever the hell the guy's name is.
But here's the thing:
Blitz Wolf.
how effective is social distancing, though? I mean, think about it. We're all going to the same grocery stores. We're all going to the same WalMarts.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. I mean,
but people aren't
Everybody's-
packed in bars. People aren't packed in streets.
I know.
People aren't packed.
but they're packed in grocery stores.
Yes and no.
I'm there every day, brother. They're standing in line.
Going out to like a bar, like when we go to like to the ranch, like trying to like
Hand him the microphone.
yeah.
You hand him the microphone.
When me and Davis would like go to a bar to like see Alex or stuff. Like let's say we go to like West and we go to the ranch. Those people are like you have to push between people to get to people. You have like 100-something people completely like packed into like one spot. I have yet to ever go to a grocery store in my lifetime where I'm like 2 inches. Yeah, like.
I'm there every single.
Yeah, so you can't really compare a grocery store to a bar. Plus, a grocery store is how many times bigger than like a bar?
I get it.
And a bar will still probably have more people in it than a grocery store.
But according to the standard, everybody that goes to the grocery store is in violation of social distancing.
Unless they're not what standard? So we have
6 feet.
And having more than 10 people
gather,
in a building.
Standing in a line that's
I think
400 yards
square foot.
long.
I mean, Walmart
touching carts, touching things on shelves, touching.
All right, you're saying all this, but you're not. I mean, you say that you're there every day, so obviously you've seen them disinfecting the carts. Obviously, you've seen them saying, "Hey, everybody," they go out to the line and be like, "You guys need to split up," or they're counting how many people come in, how many people come out, all that. So I mean, I work every day, and I've gone to Home Depot a whole bunch of times. The last 3 weeks, they've been doing that. So they've been disinfecting carts. They've been keeping only like 50 people in a store at a time. I mean, Home Depot's a big building. H-E-B's a big building. When you go to 7-Eleven, they're asking no more than 10 people at a time in the store. Social distancing. So, I mean, it's like I said, you're criticizing all these measures as like, oh, it's just an overreaction, or we're blowing it out of proportion. But like maybe they're working.
I'm not criticizing anything.
Okay, except for the numbers.
Pointing out the.
That would be. That's literally criticizing.
No, I'm pointing out the differences in it. I mean, if we're gonna do it, do it.
That's critiquing it. Yeah.
Yeah. If we're gonna do it, do it.
Another word for that would be criticizing.
Okay. Well, criticizing then.
But
I'm not doing it from an ideological standpoint. I'm doing
and
it
that's
from
fine.
a reasoned thinking standpoint.
That's fine. I can agree that the numbers are, it's hard to tell. I mean, as many people have been reported dying from COVID-19, whether they got hit by a car or they, tripped and fell on a knife or whatever. There's probably equally the same amount of people that are dying and not being,
Why aren't more air crews getting sick then, having symptoms?
Because nobody's flying with them.
But
Because
during
there's not many flights.
Well, right, but I meant
Nobody's
when,
flying anymore.
but
There's nobody on
during
the
the during
planes.
the quote unquote epicenter of when this happened, say a month ago, right when we started, freaking out about this and shutting down the country.
When no one was getting tested.
No one was getting tested. Why aren't there more air crews that are testing positive? And the way the an aircraft pressurization system works, it actually amplifies it, and it would pump it all over the aircraft equally. So you can't really social distance on an airplane. So if you just have
It's not entirely. I mean, it's not like a single
Well, he got
virus is
lucky
going to
then.
get. Yeah, I mean, it's not like a single whatever spore. Let's call it a spore.
Well, that's why.
More microbe is
well.
going to infect multiple people at once. I mean, that one single microbe that goes to that one individual is going to infect that individual.
Then how come if you show up at the airport and you're sick, they won't let you get on the plane?
Because you're sick.
Because they're smart.
They'll give it to
One
everybody else
single
on the plane.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So
Because
that's
of the
why, Leland, yeah.
recirculated air, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. If people are asymptomatic
Right.
and they get on a plane and it's in that closed environment, then all those people on the plane, including the air crews,
I mean, do
should
you
be
have any?
getting sick.
I mean, how do you know? Do you know if there's like, hey, air crews are getting sick? Because there's a lot of police officers that are testing positive. There's a lot of healthcare workers
I talk to my
testing
industry
positive.
contacts all the time, and the percentage is relatively low compared to quote unquote even the numbers which are of the general population.
But also, how many? But how many? You know, I mean, it's not like air travel is everybody's main source.
That's
of
how it's
transportation,
well. That's how supposedly this thing spread, was people traveling across the country. So the question is,
That's how it got here.
that's how it got here. So why is it that you don't see more
With the
air
snakes.
crews getting sick? I mean, you would think that the
You know,
pilots,
like
who,
as time goes on, or just initially.
all of it. I mean, well, now
You would think that-
now no one's flying, but
I mean, you would think
initially,
that would be reported.
initially pilots and flight attendants, they would let's see, they have a duty day of about 8 hours, so they would fly between 3 and 6 flights a day. So you would think that, and oftentimes on the same aircraft. So you would, or they would, and even when, or worse, when they switch aircraft, then you're contaminating new pilots, and these pilots that are supposedly contaminated, they would contaminate new aircraft. So why is it you don't see a mass pandemic of airline pilots and flight attendants? A huge. Why don't you see a statistically significant percentage of air crews testing positive? In fact, if that was the case, wouldn't you see top headline air crews testing positive? There's only like one small instance of an American Airlines crew testing positive, but not industry wide.
This is from the Dallas Morning News. Let's see, April 9th. It says 41 American airline pilots and 33 at Southwest have tested positive for COVID-19. So I don't know how many pilots there are, but
Industry wide, I can actually tell you how many ATP pilots there are. It's about 350.
and there's
400
there's 100 flight attendants.
There's a lot more. There's 2 pilots on, so say a 737. It's 1 flight attendant per 50 passengers. So a regional jet, you have 2 pilots plus 1 flight attendant for say an internet like a transcontinental flight, which has 490 passengers. That way they don't have to pay for another flight attendant. That's not 9 flight attendants.
Yes, Felicia. Everybody on the show is doing great. And I don't think any of us here.
Yeah, I'm feeling all right.
Yeah.
I'm feeling good.
Aside from like seasonal allergies, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. All right, so this is just from the Dallas. So 33 pilots at the Dallas-based Southwest Airlines have tested positive. That's what their union has said. In addition to 100 flight attendants.
That's what I said with American
tremendous.
Airlines, but why is it not industry wide? Like, for example, why don't you see that with Delta? Why don't you see that with
It's saying
with
that
United?
they're declining to say how many employees have confirmed the diagnosis. I mean, if they're declining, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's not happening. It's probably something that's, again, something that's just being like, let's make sure we're 100% positive about this before we go spreading more hysteria than there is. And people go out there buying, like, plane parts or some shit.
Yeah.
Or, like... Because oh, I was on a plane once. Oh God, no. So yeah, I mean,
So let me ask you a question: if there's a plane, and
There's
everybody-
90,000 airline
and
pilots.
everybody on the
damn,
plane
nice.
is positive for COVID, and the plane crashes, do we count all those people as COVID deaths?
See, I haven't seen that yet. I'd like to see like something more substantial that says that what your accusation is saying. Like I don't want to.
If there was
The
a whole
answer is
bunch
yes.
of people who all had
The
COVID
answer is
and
yes.
they were on a plane, wouldn't you just call it plague on a plane?
I'm tired of this motherfucking sneeze.
So the answer to your question is 152,000 pilots with an airline transport rating, and let's just say about 60% of them have are working for airlines, and the other third are either charter pilots or they maintain it but they're inactive.
Right.
So 90,000 airline pilots alone. So divide that by 2 because you have 2 per flight. 45,000 flights, and there's a lot more flight attendants.
Right. So that was just Southwest Airlines based out of Dallas that had said that.
That said, how many pilots?
39 pilots and close to in addition to 100 flight attendants.
Southwest has probably got 10,000 pilots.
Yeah, but that's
right,
just,
so that's just
Dallas.
out of Dallas.
That's
So
not Atlanta, Austin.
I guess my point of looking it up was because you had said that there wasn't anything being said about it, and I was like, well, clearly.
But on the mainstream media, it's not being made a talking point.
There's a
for
shit ton
propaganda.
going on. I'm sure it's going to come up at some point.
And if
They tied it somehow. People on Twitter were trying to say that the virus is racist or that this is a racial issue and we need to pass the new Green Deal to fight the. And I was like, shut the hell up. That has nothing to do with that's the correlation and correspondence are not.
But the other thing, but the other thing to think about with
question. Hang on, Leland. Before you go, let me ask you this. Mike, you've been in grocery stores pretty much every day. Now, for you and the guys besides me, because I've been in public every day, okay, if there is a segment of the population that is most covered up, has the face mask on, has the gloves on, extra protection, what population is that? And I'm talking about,
You know, I don't know,
I guess
but
race.
hipsters.
But here's what I see.
Nope.
No.
I don't think it's not hipsters, man. It's like
Are you asking me what I see?
suburb
I'm
moms
asking.
and shit like
I'm
that.
asking.
Because I see
And my
different
answer
levels.
before
There's
you go
guys
into your explanation,
well,
because
there's-
it's going to get lost. It's the Asian and the Korean and that type of people population that I see. They are the most covered up segment of the population. Truly.
well,
Go ahead, Mike.
Well,
I haven't
I
seen
don't I don't see, and I kind of tried to pay attention one day, but I didn't see anywhere in the store where there was any demographic that was more covered up than another. There's guys like me. I don't wear gloves or a mask. Of course, I don't sneeze on anybody, and I don't go licking things, and I wash my hands a lot. But there's a lady who was in one of the driving carts that had a clear plastic Tupperware bowl over her head that was wrapped around a scarf under a hoodie. So there's two extremes. There's that extreme, and then there's guys like me, and we don't. I don't wear anything.
Yeah, I haven't noticed a racial demographic. I've noticed that. I'd probably say like more older people. I've seen wearing the mask and the gloves and stuff like that, and I'm like, "What are you doing? Go home. Like, what do you need?"
I've seen that too. I've seen the older folks wear it.
I haven't really seen.
And they should.
I
They
haven't seen
absolutely
like
should.
hipsters or Asians, or I haven't noticed anything like that.
I mean, the Asians I have seen. It's a mixed bag. I mean,
But they
I'll
probably
see
were like,
some
"Oh,
with
we've been
it.
through this shit already before, and
Yeah.
the SARS and everything." We'll just.
But a lot of that
Yep.
of that happens even without this, because that's in especially in Tokyo. I saw it a lot when I was in Tokyo back in the '80s, and a lot of that has to do with the pollution that's in the city. It also has to do with just their culture, because they don't. I want to see if I can get this right. I might be a little off. It's been a long time since I've talked about it, but I know in Korea, it's very rude to have your mouth open when talking to somebody. And that's why they cover their mouth when they laugh, or you'll see they'll laugh and they'll cover their face when they laugh, because it's it's disrespectful to a person to have your mouth open. I might be a little wrong about the demographics of that, but it's rude to have your mouth open. So when your nose is stuffed up, how do you breathe?
Through your mouth.
With your mouth open. So they put the face mask on. So it kind of covers it. I was told that way back in the 80s that was one, because I asked them, because even in Korea, and especially in the cold weather, breathing in the cold air instead of putting a scarf on and having, because anybody that's ever lived up north, you put a scarf over your face and you breathe into it, your condensation freezes, and then you have a wet scarf and it's uncomfortable. They just put the paper masks on, and that's another way they did that. But that's a cultural thing with Asians that preceded this.
Yeah.
And I saw that. I saw that. You go to an Asian market, you see people with masks on. So, and that was before any of this stuff was happening. So I think that's more of a culture.
Well, I'm at Sam's Club just about 4 days a week, and man, I mean, you want to talk about a segment of the population that is the most guarded. They've got scarves, they got everything you can think of. They have got on. Well, by the way, Mike, I'm really glad to hear that you don't go around licking things. That's really good to hear.
No, I don't lick things. No.
I have an alert on his phone that notifies me whenever he's doing it, and that's fine. Like, stop licking windows. Stop it.
Stop doing it.
Stop it. Stop licking the deli meat packages.
The snozberries taste like snozberries.
At least people have stopped.
Bacon is for frying, not licking.
Other than the TP, at least people have stopped panic buying deli meat and steaks, and so you can actually go into the store and.
Well, they had to shut down some shit down up in
but
South Dakota.
Yeah, it was the shitty bacon.
I'm
not
talking
the
about
HEB bacon.
I'm talking about like a
It's a
beef
pork
farm.
factory. I thought it was a pork processing
I thought
plant.
it was beef.
Nah, pork. Bacon.
You sure?
Oh yeah, Smithville.
In South Dakota?
Yep. Smithville plant got shut down, but Smithville is overpriced and it's crappy bacon anyway. You get HEB thick slice. Best bacon out there.
I'm pretty sure it's beef. But
If you're gonna go buy bacon, go buy Hempler's bacon. It's made in Ferndale, Washington. That shit's delicious.
Hempler's is pretty good too.
Yeah, it's fucking expensive, but oh my god, it's fucking amazing.
But I get the HEB thick slice.
Well, yeah, this is thicker though. Might as well it's awesome. But yeah,
I know, but I get the HEB thick slice.
Yeah, okay, whatever, wiener. But no, they shut down multiple farms and like slaughtering facilities this last week. It wasn't just one; it was like several.
Yeah,
of that one company.
No, more than just Smithfields or whatever. So I'm like, oh
Sioux
no,
Falls, South Dakota. Yep, Virginia. Okay.
Well, a lot of it has to do with all the restaurants shut down. There's a lot less demand for fresh food.
Yeah, it's true. They're dumping onions.
They're dumping milk, which is crazy.
Milk. Yep.
It's ridiculous what's going on.
And why are they doing? I mean, why? Because it's going to go bad, or
It's going to go bad. Yeah, that's why they're shutting down the slaughterhouse. There's no point in slaughtering meat if no one's going to a steakhouse because it's all closed.
Well, it's interesting too, Leland. They're dumping milk. It's interesting that a lot of markets. I mean, name the markets: Sam's Club, Walmart, HEB, whatever. They have a limitation on milk that you can buy.
This is ridiculous. It's
but that's not the limitation isn't because of the lack of it. The limitation is because of the supply chain, which is something totally different. When you fill the supply chain at one end, and at the other end, you can have a choke point, and the choke point is the stores, and of course the ability to get the stuff to the stores. And especially with milk, if you don't get it to the stores in enough time, it goes bad. And when, like I said, the restaurants are shut down, people are staying home, they're buying a lot of it at the choke point, but there's still tons of it in the pipeline, and they're pouring out the excess. So it's not like, I went to HEB yesterday at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Well, at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you ain't going to find shit. Because everybody's still kind of, bulk buying. The store can only hold so much milk in its facility. It can't hold, because it's got to hold. So they fill that up, but they still have a distribution point that has a bunch of milk in a cooler, and then the choke point is getting it from the distribution point to the store. And so that's why there's the impression of, well, we're out of milk. How come we're pouring milk out?
Yeah.
Well, the problem is the distribution points and the storage facilities and the processing facilities are overflowing with milk, and it's just getting into that choke point.
No, that makes sense.
Look at me with the big brain.
There you go.
No, yeah, that makes sense. Even,
Yeah, right?
even something as simple as like you said, the choke point is.
That used to be
When
my
did you get
specialty.
smart?
They don't.
That
They
used
don't.
to be
They
my
don't have enough
specialty.
milk containers, so they can that where you can actually ship the milk in large stainless steel containers to say restaurants. You can't. They don't have X amount of gallon containers they could sell consumer.
the
So, yeah.
demand, the demand at the point of need is what is the choke point. In another life, I used to do supply chain management analysis and build warehouses back when you were just a little tot. And your mom and I worked for Applied Materials. So I would go into a situation, find the choke points, and me and my group that I led would create the product flow to eliminate choke points and all that kind of stuff.
And that explains why restaurants and fast food places never ran out of food, is because everyone was panic buying at the grocery store and nobody was going there, so they had
And
their
all the
own
food.
distribution
Yeah.
stuff going. So,
See,
yeah.
Chili's is open in Hutto now. Oh, I have got some breaking news, and then we're going to end the show because we're moving up into the final hour. I grew up in Michigan, for those of you who don't know, in a town called Petoskey, Michigan. And if you are in Petoskey, Michigan, for those of you who don't know it, it's right near the, let me get my map out, it's right here in Michigan.
So it's near the middle finger.
It's on the west coast of the northern tip, right by the bridge. What the hell are you doing?
Sorry, just walking the dog.
Oh. So anyway,
Sorry.
the big shops in the summertime in Petoskey and Harbor Springs are fudge shops. And if you are not from Petoskey and you visited, either if you're a migrant, a vacationer, because it was a big vacation town, and it had a big state park there and stuff, they would go buy the fudge, and they were called fudgies. And of course, the flagship of all the fudge shops in Petoskey, Michigan, was a place called Kilwin's Fudge. And it is, Alex has had it before.
It's pretty damn good.
It's freaking amazing fudge.
Now you're making me hungry.
And guess what's coming to Hutto, Texas?
Oh, no shit.
From Petoskey, Michigan.
Well, there you go.
Kilwin's Fudge.
They should have you cut the ribbon.
Man, I'm telling you, I already sent a message. I'm like, yay! I want to know if I know the guy, maybe. But I was talking to my mom and your grandmother, and she was saying that it's now franchised, so you're going to see them all over the United States.
Oh, man.
And I'm telling you right now, they have ice cream. They have every sort of candy, fudge, every imaginable type of fudge. And when you bite the fudge, it just melts in your mouth. It just so good, so good. And their ice cream is amazing. So it's coming to.
And you know, Mike, that's really cool that you have a piece of your hometown from Michigan,
Yeah, my old
right here in
hometown.
Hutto.
My old hometown is coming to my new hometown.
There you go. But what's really sad about that, Mike,
Alex.
is Michigan will still lose to Ohio State. Sorry.
All right, Chuck. Thanks for calling in.
All right, check when you file.
We'll see you next week.
Handcrafted chocolate
Bye.
chip,
Chocolate
Petoskey, Michigan. Wow.
Chuck Licata on the Celebrity Hotline. Chuck Licata and Leland Freeman will be having a show of their own here coming up at the end of May. And we're taking sports talk out of my show, and we're turning it in to its own segment prior to our show. So to lead into this show, and they'll be talking all the sports with Chuck and Leland. I don't know what they're going to call it yet.
They're going to give special commentary on the local kids playing basketball, breaking the law there. There is a huge street ball tournament. Some roller hockey stuff going on.
Roller hockey.
Some
We have a pretty
some good
contested-
amateurs coming up, you know.
Yeah, pretty good contested game of horse
Yeah,
down at the Johnsons. Yeah. Anyway, thanks for joining us tonight. Everything that we talk about here, go investigate yourself. Go look into it yourself. is what I do with the main media. You should never get any source of information from anywhere and then take it for face value, especially in these times. Do your homework, do your diligence, and in November, please vote. Now, I've been told that we have the video loaded. Oh, okay. So let's go around the room. Chuck hung up, but let's go around the room. Leland, what'd you learn?
That Patty's got to get his hair back, hopefully in the next few months.
Patty, what'd you learn? That you played a lot of games on your Game Boy while you were Purdueing.
Yeah, maybe next time.
Mad Mike, what'd you learn?
I actually did negative learning tonight.
Negative learning.
I feel that this constant bickering actually killed brain cells.
It
By
wasn't
you.
bickering.
You're bickering. Killed brain cells.
Is this where you get to an argument? Alex, what'd you learn?
Actually, I didn't learn much, but I have a lot more questions. So
That's the point.
one of them being, why is a 30-year-old man playing a game designed for 12-year-olds?
And watching cartoons when you should be Purdueing.
Well, hentai
Not
is
made
really
for
kids,
12-year-olds.
so.
A lot of the fan base is my age,
Of,
so you can suck it.
Speaking of questions, this actually goes back to your home state of Michigan. What is going on with that governor saying you can't even leave your house to go to someone else's house?
It's not enforceable, and it's the end of the show. We'll have to bring it up next week. Thank you all for stopping by. The replay will be up right after the show is over. I'm Mike Allen. This is the Radio Man Cave, and you have been on the air. See you next week.
Great job, team. Head back to base for debriefing and cocktails.